would not be me.
Okay, so let's start talking about our metabolic processes, our bioenergetics. We'll talk about anaerobic metabolism first, and then we'll do the aerobic. So Ren, if you want to your group can kind of lead us off a little bit in the discussion on.
Can you bring up the candy bars?
Okay.
So like, if you think about you're going to work or you're doing something, you're in your car and you are hungry but you have nothing to eat, but you keep like a box of Smarties in your little cubby hole and you just quickly eat those Smarties, it'll tie you over until you can actually eat a proper meal. If you try to survive eating Smarties the whole day, you're just going to get sick and it's not going to give you the proper energy.
Okay. So how does that relate to anaerobic metabolism?
So if you think about a solid square meal as being oxygen, when we have a space in our lives without that, we are in an anaerobic phase. So an means not, and aero is air, so no air. And there are two systems that you can primarily create energy with. The first is the quickest, most rapid, short burst of maximal intensity replenishment, and that's our ATP and creatine phosphate system. ATP, you can think about it as the monopoly money of your cell. You need that to get anything done. It is your energy currency.
It's really energy.
Yeah. Okay. So if you think about it as like, in life, you live in a capitalist society, you can't do anything without money. In your body, you can't do anything without ATP.
Okay.
So that's
the
money.
ATP.
ATP is money.
And so that ATP, in order to have value to it, the way we assign to money, is through something called phosphate bonds. Phosphate bonds are high energy. They store lots of money in them. So it's like the difference between a 20 and a toonie. A 20 has a lot more value in it than a toonie does. So our 20 is our ATP. Okay? Our toonie is our ADP. Still has some value, but definitely not the same amount. When we first break that down, we can get energy for about 1 to 2 seconds just taking that $20 ATP and turning it into $2 ADP. Creatine is like the really kind thing that comes around and starts giving you back a little bit of the money that you just spent by bringing back that 20. They'll trade you that toonie and they'll give you back that 20. Okay? And they do that through re-adding that phosphate group for the value portion. Like the 0 at the end of my analogy. That 0 between the 2 and the 20 is that last phosphate group.
Oh, that makes sense. Is that a good analogy for you?
I might need you to explain it.
That's okay. And the enzyme that does that is called creatine kinase. And that will quickly replenish your body's energy supply, but it's really only limited to about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Just for clarity for people that, so can you explain what ATP is and ADP so that they know what the molecules are, the
ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So it's got 3 phosphate groups. All 3. ADP is adenosine diphosphate. 2. So that going from the T to the P, T to the D, and D to the T is the difference of 1 P phosphate.
All right.
And our lactic acid, or glycolytic cycle, also occurs without oxygen.
Oh, hang on one sec. So with ATP, CP system, you said how long is that energy available for?
Like 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay.
ATP to CP.
Okay. So it's readily available, like we can access this energy system
Only
quickly
at
maximal effort, and it's available for about 10 seconds.
Cool.
In terms of production of maximal energy. So what activities do you think we would rely on this ATP-CP system for, if it's available for such a short period of time and it remains to maximal effort?
Printing?
Yeah, for sure. If we go back to our little Usain Bolt effort.
Run on the
Or
spot for 10
analogy.
seconds?
Okay.
Would it be like anything kind of explosive. So when
Yeah.
you're first, like, on that CrossFit game,
Yeah.
when they're doing, like, that clean and press
Yeah.
thing, or,
Yeah.
like, just the squat lift.
Exactly, yeah, especially if the duration is like maximal and low repetition, like 1 to 4 repetitions, maybe only 1 to 2 repetitions of that Olympic clean and press kind of motion that you might see in the CrossFit games. That would be related to that energy system. What are other activities that might use that? Think of maybe scenarios in team sports, for
I
example.
mean, like, that's a soccer, football, like, you gotta, that came when you're like,
Yeah.
sprint really fast.
Got the
and then
ball
you
and you're running.
Rest recover, like, run.
Yeah, if the sprint is short, or almost like what does the goalie do in response to a shot? Their activity, their action,
Make
their
a save.
attempt to make
Oh,
the
like,
save.
you're going that fast?
Yeah, that's a very short duration
Got
but
it.
maximal response,
Okay.
right?
Or
So soccer goalie or
like
hockey goalie.
in life, if your kid is going to fall or something, that reach
The dad
out
save.
and yeah, the dad save.
Have you seen that video?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one. Yeah, and other sports like that, like if you think of the batter in baseball or the bat and pitch, that's going to be a very explosive short duration
Cool.
activity. Okay.
When you catch yourself to go out to trip.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
That's,
So that would be our
ATP.
ATP system.
okay.
Okay. What about okay, now if we go on to the anaerobic glycolytic?
The glycolytic or lactic acid cycle is also anaerobic, so without oxygen. So your blood and your lungs have not been able to deliver the oxygen to your body for that really short period of time. You're breaking down glucose, but without oxygen you can't break it all the way down. So it forms this lactic acid that we feel as the burning in our muscles or whatever. And that'll give us about 2 to 3 ATPs per glucose or sugar molecule. And that will only give you about 2-3 minutes before you're at lactic acid saturation, and you can have like muscle die. You won't die, probably, but it will be very uncomfortable.
So Joel, we're doing the bottom
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
squats, and Glenn on the video says, feel that burning pressure in your legs.
Mhm.
That's what change is. Is that? Because you can't do that for very long. You got to come up for a break
Part
and go
of
back
when
down.
we build muscle is that we're actually, the reason that muscles get bigger is because we're tearing muscle fibers
Yeah,
apart
yeah.
and then rebuilding them. So part of that pain is going to be the physical
Okay.
cellular breakdown of those muscle cells,
Okay.
and part of it is going to be the lactic acid.
Yeah, the buffering. Yeah.
So that lactic acid breakdown is the, what did you say, the anaerobic?
You're working anaerobic glycolysis, so without
Colin-
oxygen. Glycolysis. Yeah.
Breakdown.
Glyco means sugar,
Yeah.
lytic is lysis or breakdown, so sugar
Yeah,
breakdown.
Sugar breakdown.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. And the burn you're feeling at the end of those pulses, like in the Les Mills pump, right?
Yep.
That's that point at which your lactic acid system is trying to buffer the waste products.
Okay.
You're reaching a threshold where it's at such a high point that your body's having trouble with it. That's an immediate burn,
Yep.
as well as some of the cellular damage Ren was talking about.
That's
Okay.
cool.
So that feel the burn idea is kind of referring to that sensation within that metabolic system, the
Okay.
anaerobic glycolysis.
Okay.
Okay. What activities
Cool.
take near maximal effort and can last up to, say, 2 minutes? Gymnast vault. The vault's done in just a few seconds, though, right? Or you mean like on the pommel horse, or the vault and launch yourself?
The vault itself
Is-
usually is not past 10 seconds.
Mhm. Is it?
Well, it depends.
Can you do 2 minutes?
It might be,
You
yeah.
do 2 minutes.
So that's threshold,
Even like
but yeah,
a
think of something that could take up to 2, like, so your floor routine in gymnastics, yeah.
Olympic level is almost 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
provincial is a minute.
Yeah. So well beyond the 10-second window, we're no longer able to really just get energy from ATP-CP. And whether it's a 1 or 2 minute floor routine, we're trying to work near maximal. They're bounding, they're sprinting, they're doing all their tumbling runs, that sort of thing. Those are all explosive efforts, right, that require a high degree of energy. what are some other activities that might take up to 2 minutes? Usain Bolt doing the 100 meters takes just sub 10 seconds. What if it becomes a 2, a 4, or an 800 meter run? Or even a 1200 meter run? That would start to fall into that category of anaerobic glycolysis. We've used up our available ATP-CP in the first 10 seconds, but we continue on past that point. So we can work at near maximal effort for a longer period of time.
Okay.
If you look at when the Olympics come around in 2 weeks here, if you look at the times for track and field and the 100-meter sprinters like Usain Bolt and the other athletes that can run around 10 seconds or sub 10 seconds, look at the 200-meter heats, then look at the 4 and look at the 8. Their time distance per 100 meters is not drastically different. They can work at almost the same speed for 800 meters. If you watch those 2-lap heats, they're only in the 40-second range, maybe 40 to 50 plus seconds. So they're really close to that speed over a longer distance. That's that energy system there.
Okay.
Can you think of any other examples that might be sort of 2-minute or less than 2-minute maximal efforts?
In, like, not in the NHL, but usually like hockey shifts or sort of in that range. Like they're shorter the higher level you go, but
yep. Yeah, rec hockey, you're probably on the ice a little longer, 2 minutes, maybe sometimes 2 minutes plus. In the NHL, they work rotations to keep these guys working, or these ladies working at near maximal effort. So their shifts become really short, 30, 45 seconds, and they rotate. They're spinning out really quickly, so they're working at close to maximum speed and intensity as possible. Then their rest, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is quite long. So they can go out there and do it again for another 45 seconds and so on. And that's why the pace of the game is so fast in the Olympic level or NHL level, because of the rests. They're trying to keep it closer to that ATP-CP threshold by how short the shifts are. Any other stuff that you guys do that in your recreational activities that might be sub 2 minutes near maximal effort?
Water skiing.
RPM?
Cycling?
Yeah, how long are your intervals when you do your RPM
When
class?
I'm in RPM class,
Yeah.
or hold on.
Like your climbs or a sprint, how long do they last, the sort of speed drills and the hill climb drills?
Sprints like about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, for 3, right now, 3 rounds, 60 at our climbs, they're about 2 minutes.
Okay.
3.5.
Cool. So keep that in mind. Yeah, like those work intervals or the hits in your RPM or your spinning classes that are sprint oriented or hill climb oriented that are only 60 seconds to 2 minutes. Those are anaerobic glycolytic efforts. And then you always have rest intervals in between them, right? So that you can kind of work as hard. Your subjective scale of intensity, like we talked about, easy, medium, hard, or your heart rate, that stuff, you can come up to the same intensity on the next work or next work interval, right? Does that make sense? All right. So what about, that's our, you said the number of ATP produced, right?
Yeah.
2 per glucose molecule.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so now we go to aerobic metabolism. We shift gears. Our intensity drops a little bit, allows us to utilize oxygen in this process, and it changes the number of ATP we have access to. So tell us about aerobic glycolysis.
So aerobic glycolysis uses the first few steps that are the same first few steps as glycolytic or anaerobic glycolysis. But because oxygen is available, you can produce 38 ATP molecules instead of 2 for every glucose molecule. That goes through a simple.
Yeah. So quite a difference. You can produce quite a bit more. And how long does that last for? Any indication?
Like hours.
Yeah, if we resupply the glucose, and our intensity stays at an appropriate level, it can carry on for a long period of time. This is, like, what type of activities would principally rely on this type of energy system? Yeah, endurance running, like distance runners, triathlon, what did you say, sorry? Yeah, endurance exercise. So we come back around, like when we were talking about the cardiovascular system, talking about those biathletes and cross-country skiers and triathletes, runners, cyclists. That's the energy system they're mostly relying on. And
So
it
it's
can-
anything 2 minutes plus?
2 minutes and above.
Okay.
Yeah.
2
This
minutes
is
it's not 20 hours.
yeah. These thresholds are not like black and white. It's you get the most function at maximal effort in the first 10 seconds from ATP and CP, and then you transition and become more and more reliant on anaerobic glycolysis for the rest of that 2 minutes, and then you kind of transition if your activity continues and the intensity is correct to becoming more aerobic glycolysis. But there's a bit of a sliding scale. It's not like 100% zero. It's 100% and it tapers off over a few seconds after that first 10-second marker, while the other energy system is scaling up in its contribution. And then as that starts to run out of gas, the third energy system, like aerobic glycolysis, starts to contribute more. Okay? And it takes that other energy system, like aerobic glycolysis, a bit of time to gear up and actually start to make those 38 ATP available. So, yeah, that can kind of go back to like oxygen debt and deficit that we have kind of covered in the cardiovascular section, or that you'll read a bit more about as we talk about them. Depending on the intensity we start activity with, we might really have to rely on ATP and CP and anaerobic glycolysis for those first couple of minutes, while our aerobic system gears up and prepares to give us those 38 ATP, and then it takes over. Okay? But it's not a black and white threshold.
When you're talking, I picture like this little movie. You ever see those kid movies, like where in our body there's this little thing, and this system's gonna take over, and this system, like
That's kind of
yeah, like
for sure. Yeah.
like what's it called?
We should find a magic
The
Oh,
magic
Magic
school.
School Bus.
There you go.
But
That's
there's a
good.
movie that just came out where it's in the person's in
yeah.
their mind, and it's all these little.
Oh, that,
pieces.
yeah, what's that animated movie that just
Yeah.
came out recently, right? Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but that's when you're talking.
Create a
about-
little anime for you for this.
Yeah, could you?
Oh,
Could
is
you
that
make a
Inside
little-
Out? Yeah.
Inside
Inside
Out.
Out, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's totally what I'm picturing when he's talking.
Yeah.
The little city
I
inside.
wonder if that was in the movie. We'll have to check.
No, it was all about feelings.
Okay.
It was all about feelings. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now what about fatty acid oxidation? Tell us a little story about fatty acid
So
oxidation.
fatty acid oxidation is similar to aerobic glycolysis in that it's anything over 2 minutes, basically.
Okay.
But it's usually used at lower intensity exercise.
Okay.
And it uses fat, stored fat,
Okay.
to produce 100 ATP per molecule of fatty acid.
Okay, so even more energy available if the intensity is correct, right?
Right.
The higher the intensity, the more we rely on those other energy systems. When would we utilize the fatty acid oxidative system?
So our book says at rest.
At rest.
At rest and at very low intensities of exercise.
Yeah, so sitting here, or sitting in the office at work every day, that kind of thing, we're mostly reliant on the fatty acid oxidative system. In exercise, when do you think we're utilizing the fatty acid oxidative system? Think back to what we've done over the last little while, like the types of classes we tried. Is there a particular class that, at least for periods of time, is mostly reliant on this energy system versus others?
Flow.
Your flow, yeah, like the body flow class. Certainly significant components of it would be very low intensity, passive, not very muscularly fatiguing. There's a lot of flexibility postures in there, and your breathing is relaxed. You're not demanding a lot of energy. So that kind of class would probably settle significantly into that energy system. What parts of that class step you up to another energy system?
Core and
Yes,
back.
the core and back section. Yeah, the Pilates-based
And
stuff.
some cells too.
Yeah.
And
They could, yeah, for
and
sure.
the standing strength.
Yeah.
You sink deep into those poses.
Yep.
And you're shivering and quaking and holding your thumb.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So
So
there's
first
a change in energy systems throughout that flow class. There's a predominant need probably for the fatty acid system, but throughout an activity that we would even perceive as low intensity, there is a transition. There's a change in demand for energy, right? Even in that class. And what are some examples in sort of maybe day-to-day life or even in sport where we might rely on fatty acid oxidation and then need to quickly switch gears?
Stairs. Sitting at a desk and then taking the stairs all the way up to the third floor.
Yeah, okay, so you're at your desk for an hour or two or whatever, we're fatty acid oxidated, we're doing our brain drain activities for the day, then we get up, have to go to the third floor. If we get up out of the chair and we walk through the length of one hallway towards the stairs at just a relaxed pace, what energy system may we have switched to, if anything? Would there necessarily be a change if we didn't jump up and start briskly walking or running? Okay, it's probably the same energy system.
Okay.
Depends a little bit on pace.
Which would be the fatty acid oxidation.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we got a phone call to hurry and we started to walk quickly towards that staircase, what gear might have we stepped through? What would we have done? What energy system would we have changed to? Yeah, we're still aerobic. We haven't changed drastically. We've just started moving quickly from a sedentary position, so we're probably working on that aerobic glycolysis. Okay? We're still working aerobically. We just have a slight increase in energy demand.
What if it's a phone call? You get upstairs immediately because it's from an angry dean.
Sure. Yeah.
So the heart rate
So
starts
you avoid
going,
the angry
and
deans,
you're
don't
moving.
you? You go outside and you walk around the botanical gardens until they chill out.
Right. But, so we're talking about the energy system, but can it be something like that too, that just, no, it's...
That's like an
physical force.
adrenal response, I guess, in a
Yeah.
sense. So it could force your body to switch gears.
Okay.
Once you get to the foot of the stairs, and there's a 3-stairwell climb,
Yeah.
and maybe that takes, depending on the length of the stairs, it takes you in excess of 2 minutes, but you're in a hurry. You have to get up there.
Yeah.
Say it's clinical, it's hospital related, and you get a code response or something, and you have to respond to a medical emergency, so you're likely running up those stairs. What energy system have we switched to allow us to get there quickly?
We're probably in that ATP.
Yeah, the first few strides anywhere, or the first flight, we've probably gassed out ATP-CP. We've used that for that initial
That's
sprint
fast, eh?
effort. Yeah, in the first 10 seconds, yeah, that's gone. That's the gear we hit when we hit the stairs and we have that urgency. It might have been the gear we hit when we jumped out of the chair if it was a medical response that we were stimulated for, like your initial jump in energy, just getting up and going, like you kind of gave the analogy for. And then as soon as that 10 seconds is done, but we're still in a hurry to get up those 3 or 4 flights of stairs, what energy system are we using then? Yeah, that's right. Anaerobic glycolytic. We're still without oxygen because we're in near maximal effort. Okay. If we had to do that over 10 flights of stairs or 20 flights of stairs, at some point our body starts fatiguing. We accumulate waste products and lactic acid buffering occurs and our muscles start burning and we start feeling short of breath. What happens to our body then?
Go to that long distance.
Yeah, our body will force us to slow down. Like runners talk about bonking or hitting the wall and so on. That's often because they're working anaerobically. They're working too hard for the distance and time required, and their body just starts to force them to slow down, right? It shuts them down. There's other contributing factors like lack of nutrients and dehydration and stuff, but that's one of the potential contributors, okay? So anyways, we get to the 4th flight, and our body says, I can't keep this pace up anymore. I can't contribute enough ATP. So you start to slow down. You still try and sustain a faster effort. You're in a hurry, but your body will slow down, and you shift gears to that aerobic glycolysis to an intensity and a pace that your body can match and start contributing fuel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So say we get to the 5th floor, things level out. We're still in a hurry, and we have to run to the stairs at the other end of the hall, which is like 400 meters away. So we get a little bit of a recovery, a little respite. The difficulty has dropped. If that length of the hallway is long enough to provide sufficient recovery before we get to the next stairway, say we have to go for 3 minutes for the next down this hallway, then we hit the next set of stairs. Our body's had time to recuperate. When we hit the stairs and start going up again, what energy system do you think we hit or switch to?
switch back into that ATP?
Yeah, if the
Really?
recovery effort, like the active recovery intensity was low enough, which is going to relate to our little physical example in a minute, if our active recovery intensity was low enough, or if we actually had passive recovery, like we just had to sit in the chair there for 3 minutes before we kept going because we gassed ourselves out, then we've given time to replenish that ATP supply, and we hit the next set of stairs and we go through that transition again. If we're in a hurry and we're kind of sprinting to consume that readily available ATP-CP resource, switch back to anaerobic metabolism, and depending on how long this ridiculous staircase goes for, we either get to the top,
it's never ending.
still in that 2-minute time frame and still using ATP, anaerobic glycolysis, or if it were to continue, our body would kind of bring us back to aerobic metabolism.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That is helpful.
Somewhat.
Well, it's a hell of a lot more.
I get it, but I think I can admit, like, I get it, but
That's going to be kind of our...
Let's keep looking.
We're going to put it into our little boot camp example out there. We're going to actually establish our intervals and active recoveries based around these energy systems. We'll look at heart rate a little bit, but we'll actually do active rest for long enough that our body can replenish ATP so that our next work interval on the heavy ropes or slamming medicine balls, etc., can truly be at a maximal effort. And that's kind of a bit about how HIIT intervals work too. We kind of work through those high intensity intervals to consume anaerobic energy and put out a maximal effort. Then we work in a recovery effort at a lower intensity. We're still working, but we're letting our body replenish that fuel so that we can go back and do it again at a maximal effort. Okay. We'll give that a try. In terms of effort, yeah. Yeah, that's right. You can do aerobic, a lower intensity effort for a very, very long period of time. Anaerobic, that higher intensity effort, or more explosive movements, you can only do for a shorter period of time before your body says, I have to drop my effort. Right?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Where are we at for time? Here we are at
The problem is we'll go
10:02. So we'll take like a 5-minute break and then we'll kind of go and apply this a little bit out on the floor. Yeah, for sure. You can bring your books and everything.
In 2 days I'll go.